Hey everyone, welcome back to Hobbies with Jose. I'm Jose Carbajal, and you may be hearing my voice just a little bit off today. I actually came down with a cough this past week that I'm still trying to shake, but thankfully, it's not a COVID. And that's also why I decided to skip my regular intros, just so I wouldn't have to be in front of the camera, not having to look presentable, shaving, combing my hair. But anyways, today we are going to be taking a look at the Studio Series 83 from the Transformers Bumblebee movie, Soundwave. And as always, we'll take a look at the box first. This of course is a pretty typical design for Studio Series, except for some minor changes. We now have a much larger render of the figure, in this case showing Soundwave from the movie, which in turn gives us a smaller window showing the actual figure inside. Now typically I like to have as big of a window as possible so I can see the figure that I'm buying, but I usually buy them online anyway, so that doesn't concern me too much. Having the bigger render though could help me as a reference point when I'm doing the repaint. And the sides are pretty typical. We do have Studio Series number 83 here with a headshot of Soundwave from the movie. And on the other side we have a full shot of Soundwave, still showing the Autobot logo on the boxes. I do wish Hasbro would either correct this to show the Decepticon logo for the proper figures or just get rid of it altogether. And at the bottom, the authentic Transformer stamp. On the back, we do get some nice shots of the figure itself, showing us a nice cool pose of Soundwave and, ironically enough, some kind of a yoga pose. Usually when I think of Soundwave, I think of him as just mostly standing there. But I'm glad he's staying active. I wish I was the same. On the top right, we do have the Transformers Bumblebee movie logo. Right below that, indicating that we have Soundwave here. And below that, in multiple languages, we have the word Cybertron Falls. Towards the left middle, we see he transforms in 29 steps. And again, in multiple languages, we have the single sentence, "The fate of Cybertron is sealed," as Soundwave orders the Decepticons to launch a final attack, causing the Autobots to fall back. Which is pretty accurate to what we see in the movie. And right next to that, we have a shot of the backdrop that's included, which I never really cared too much about that. And here we have Soundwave in all of his near perfect movie glory, and he just looks fantastic. Now I do believe the toy makers were able to use the 3D files from the movie because the proportions are just perfect. This figure just jumped right out of the movie. And there is no question that when you see this figure, you know exactly who he is. Even with the added details, the head sculpt just screams Soundwave. He's got the iconic design on his forehead that, as we all know, was used to design the Decepticon logo. Of course, the only thing that's a little bit off is the way the visor curves up towards the center, giving him a rather depressed look. I'm not sure if that's something that I'll be able to fix during the repaint, but I'll certainly look into it. Now clearly Hasbro did design him to have light piping. You can see the clear spot that he has on the back of the head, but they decided to paint over the visor, which I honestly think this looks better. Unfortunately, the clear part was left unpainted in the back, which kind of gives him a bald look, which is why Keeps is a sponsor of today's video. Nah, I'm just kidding, they're not. And with this updated take of his G1 design, he's been given this extra bulk on his arms and legs, which looks fantastic. The blocky chest has been ripped right out of G1. And he's got a working eject button too, so when Soundwave is ready to deploy his minions... Alright, it's not here yet. His iconic cylindrical cannon right over his shoulder really completes the look too, while at the same time giving it an updated detailed design. The only thing out of place is the extra weapon that he's included with. It's clearly not based on G1 and it's really just painted a glossy dark gray. As far as the repaint is concerned, there is something I have in mind thanks to the instructions that are included. What it tells us is that Ravage is going to include a piece that is supposed to attach to Soundwave's cannon, but clearly it's designed to go on his hand weapon, so I may try to modify that. But overall, this is a very solid figure that feels solid too. All of the joints just feel great. Starting with a ball joint at the head, he can look up quite a bit, down not so much, can tilt his head slightly, and also turn a full 360. The shoulders are a bit weird though. They can turn out 90 degrees, but at a joint that's really inside of the chest, and the shoulder itself can turn independently of the arm itself due to transformation, so you kind of have to hold the whole thing when turning. But it can turn a full 360. As for the elbows, even though they're double jointed, because of the bulkiness of the arm, it's a little bit hindered, but he still has 90-degree bend. No wrist rotation, unfortunately, due to transformation. And technically there is a waist rotation, but you have to lift this front flap first. That allows you to fully rotate the waist. But I can't really count that as an articulation point, only because it looks weird once you start rotating it. And the legs do fold out quite a bit. With the front flap out of the way, they do bend forward almost 90 degrees. And ironically enough, they do fold back a full 90 degrees. Upper thigh rotation and double jointed knees. What's cool, due to transformation, this knee part actually folds forward too, giving it a much better bended look. And as for the feet, they do bend up a little bit. They fold back all the way, thankfully, due to transformation. They fully rotate. And excellent ankle pivot, again, due to transformation. Lastly, the shoulder cannon can rotate up and down, and a little bit side to side if you needed to as well. So overall, the joints are pretty solid. The only one that's a little bit loose though is on the feet. These can tend to be just a little bit loose, causing some difficulty in standing them up, but thankfully they're large enough where just some minor adjustments can rectify that. But of course, no figure is perfect, and Studio Series Soundwave is no exception. Let's get into that alt mode. And here we have the alt mode, which ironically the box doesn't say what it is, but I think it's been described on one of Hasbro's streams as a hovercraft, which I guess I can kind of see it. There's no wheels or landing gear underneath, but now the chest fake piece becomes a bit of a cockpit. And what is pretty cool is that you can see an interior that's been molded in. That is a nice little touch. But other than that, it's really a whole lot of nothing. The transformation itself, while it has some clever parts, is kind of a pain in the butt, and nothing really wants to line up. As soon as you get one part pegged in, something else wants to disconnect. Now for me specifically though, I really don't care about the alt modes because you know what I'm going to do with it. And I can give Hasbro a pass since we never saw an alt mode for this figure in the movie. So they kind of had to design this on their own. I think that sacrificing the alt mode to give us a much better robot mode is absolutely worth it. Plus, I kind of like the second alt mode better. Now this is an alt mode you can be proud of. Okay, back to bot mode. So bottom line, Soundwave is a fantastic figure with an alt mode that doesn't really amount to anything. Clearly, it wasn't just a second thought, it was more of a 10th or 11th thought, but is once again not something that I am concerned with in the slightest. You know, I don't think I've mentioned this before on the channel, but Soundwave is without a doubt my favorite Decepticon. That iconic robotic voice that he has, and quite literally a one-man army with his cassette crew, just made him such a standout character in G1. And in the latest movie, I think they did him justice. So join me next week as we start a brand new project and hopefully start bringing out all of those intricate details. So if you like what you saw, you know what to do, and feel free to catch me on the social medias. You can find my pages on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And I'm still hunting robots in Horizon Zero Dawn on my gaming streams, not just on YouTube, but on Twitch as well. So thank you all so much for watching, everyone, and I'll see you next week. Take care.